नमस्री यतिराजाय विवेकानन्दसूरये सच्चित्सुखस्वरूपाय स्वामिने तापहारिणे. So, you have seen the subject on the screen. Self-effort versus divine will. Human will or divine will? Which will prevail? Let us look into this subject today. So many sages and saints have explained this, but still many people have got doubt on this. Sri Ramakrishna explains this through many parables. We shall try to learn this, know the role of human will and divine will, whether they are different or one, when they complement each other, when they become one. It's a kind of ambiguous thing, not difficult to understand, but somehow because we are not prepared to accept the principle as principle, so there will be conflict, there will be doubt. Sri Ramakrishna and also Swamiji explains it, yes, beautifully. Human will, self-effort versus divine grace. We shall look into this subject in detail today. In fact, they complement each other. How, you may ask? Self-effort and divine will, they complement each other. You know that no effort, no fruit. Without self-effort, no fruit. In our lives, if we analyze, we don't get everything we wish for, but something that we hope for we get through effort. Without effort, nothing. Whatever that is destined for us by prarabdha, that also we won't get it without self-effort. Effort is a must. There are certain things that we are destined to achieve in life, already written. But to attain that also, you have to exert yourself. And God has already endowed you with the capacity to exert for that. You have already been endowed. So you have to use that. So prayatna, we say, self-effort. You make the self-effort. Suppose everything that you wish for, if you get it, then you don't need God and then you don't think about divine will also. Only one will, whatever I will for happens. What I wish for happens. What I long for, what I desire, I get it. Then where is the question of divine will? The very idea of divine will comes into picture because not everything is happening according to our will. In the first place, we don't know how to will and what to will for. Not many human beings know this. We have many desires, right? And we cultivate desires. But all those desires are not good for us. We don't know. Because we don't have that much of mature intellect or intelligence to will rightly or to desire right things. So there are two ways to desire things. One thing is our prarabdha. We performed certain actions in our past lives. So we have acquired certain tendencies. So those tendencies actually make us will for particular things in this world. That is prarabdha. But most of the times, it is not just prarabdha alone that makes us will or wish for things. Our desires are all are not just because of prarabdha or the samskaras of the mind. Desires are cultivated by people because of the surroundings, circumstances in which they live, the environments. Today, actually, environment actually influencing us more in cultivating desires more than our prarabdha, more than our natural proclivity of the mind. The samskaras, the samskaras which are responsible for our desires, but more than samskaras today, the circumstances, the environments in which we live. Because the people around us have, the environment determines, it may not be your goal, it may not be your want, it may not be your wish. The people around you influence. They will help you to make a desire, to form a desire in your mind because they have that, and you also looking at them cultivate that desire. It's not your own desire. You can call something as your desire if it is actually born of your prarabdha because that samskara was deep rooted in your body, and that samskara actually makes you desire for that thing. Okay, so it's not just entirely the prarabdha, the circumstances and environments, and what desires others have, and that actually is influencing us because we have, through our effort and through our seniors, manipulated and created so many things and luxuries, comforts, and conveniences. Some things we need, some things we don't need, but we wish for, but we long for them because others also have that. So it is a complex mixture of our own prarabdha, which actually decides the tendency of the mind to wish for the desired things, that is coupled with this influence of the environment and influence of the desires of the other human beings. These two actually will determine us what we hope for or aspire for in this world. So we don't know how to will for and what to will for sure. Our intellects are not that mature to will for the right thing. So the goal of education or culture or philosophy is to help man will rightly. What do you desire? What is your desire? What do you want from this world? What do you want from this life? Do you know? You don't know. Many people have not figured it out yet. Okay, your desires are born of your prarabdha and also your neighbors. You're not. You don't have such a trained intellect, a mature intelligence, which will help you to will rightly. So let us see that how it happens. You know, Sri Ramakrishna gives this story. You know, Sri Ramakrishna's way of teaching is very beautiful because he would tell a very subtle, intricate, philosophical truth through a small story, a parable. Philosophy, if it is given as philosophy, it's very difficult to understand for many people. So he would narrate it through a small parable, a story. Once Rama, during his wanderings, he came to a lake called Pampa. He wanted to take bath in that. So he stuck his bow into the soft soil on the bank of the pond and then gets into the Pampa and comes out of it after taking bath. When he removed his bow, he found there a frog. The frog's body was covered with blood. Because when he stuck his bow into the soft soil, the frog was there exactly where the frog was there. He stuck the bow. Then Rama took the frog into his hands gently and said, "When I stuck my bow into your body, why did you not cry in pain?" Then the frog said, "O Rama, when we are in distress, when any force in nature gives us pain or trouble, we call out to you, O Lord, save me, O Rama, save me. But now you yourself are responsible for my suffering. And whom else should I turn to pray for?" So that's why I did not say anything. Here the frog silently bore the pain. Okay? Silently bore the pain. It showed titiksha or fortitude. It did not protest. "Oh Rama, what are you doing to me? You're so cruel, you're so unkind." It did not say. It just bore it silently. It exerted itself. There was self effort on the part of the frog. What it did, it just bore the pain silently. And when Rama took it in his hands, then he showered his grace upon the frog. The frog got liberation. So their self effort complemented the divine grace. Had the frog shouted or yelled at Rama, or abused Rama, or accused Rama of being cruel or unkind, how the things would have turned up, we don't know. But it silently bore the pain and it used its self effort there. It used its self effort there. There is self effort involved. And now it could obtain the grace of the Lord. So here the self effort of the individual complemented with divine grace and the frog attained liberation. So there is another parable of Sri Ramakrishna where exactly the opposite happened. There was a devotee. He used to chant God's name. And of course, he had a little pride that he was a devotee of the Lord. He used to consider himself a great devotee of the Lord. One day he was, absent-mindedly going somewhere. A washerman actually put his clothes for drying on the soil, and inadvertently, this devotee stepped onto those clothes. The washerman flew into a rage and started beating this devotee of the Lord. So this devotee of the Lord started saying Narayana, Narayana. So the Lord actually started in Vaikuntha to come to the rescue of his devotee. He came out a few steps and then again returned back. His divine consort, Mother Lakshmi, asked him, "What happened? You did not go to save your devotee?" No, he said. He called out to me, then I decided to go and I started going. Then again, he helped himself. So he bet the washerman. He called out to the Lord, Narayana, Narayana, but he did not wait for Narayana to come, Narayana to save him from the danger. He took upon himself the task of defending himself. And then he also bet him up, washerman. So here the problem, what problem happened? He called out to the Lord, but he did not have faith. He had not enough faith in the name of the Lord. Right? When you called out to the Lord, and you could have waited for the Lord to come to solve your problem, to save you from the washerman's beating. You did not wait. You said Narayana, Narayana, and you started beating of the washerman. See here, the first story, the story of frog, the effort of the frog complemented with divine grace. Here, the devotee called out to the Lord, but he did not wait for his grace to come upon him. And again, he used his own will, self effort. He could have confined his self effort only to calling out the Lord. Even when washerman was beating him, the devotee could have said only Narayana, Narayana. But he didn't stop. He said Narayana and then took up a brick and started defending himself. No self surrender. That means no faith in the name of the Lord. So, most of the times it happens like that. We think actually you're surrendered, but surrender is not an easy thing. It requires tremendous self effort. We have to invest all our self effort, all our capacity or capability to surrender. This self surrender is not an easy thing. We think actually we are surrendered to the Lord. We consider ourselves as devotees of the Lord, but we defend ourselves. We act. There actually our will comes in conflict with the divine will. So Mahatma Gandhi, advocated passive resistance, not actually passive acceptance. His method was passive resistance, not passive acceptance. Somebody abuses you. There are two possibilities. You react and you abuse him back, or you bear with it patiently. Okay? When you bear with it patiently, you are allowing a chance, you are giving an opportunity to the other man to transform himself. So it is based upon a higher principle that there is a divinity in that human being and there is a divinity in me. So when you abuse the other person, you have reduced yourself to the level of the other human being. You are no better than the other individual. The other individual is low, is uncultured, unregenerate. And when you stoop down to his level and you abuse back, and then actually you have just become one with him, you are just on par with him. You hold back. You don't abuse him back. Okay, what happens? The other person, you allow time for him to think, did I do right? Did I act in a right way? Or by abusing the other person, actually, did I commit any mistake? You are allowing time. Or rather, if you abuse, he will actually abuse you more because he was the first person to abuse you. His samskaras were like that, and he would abuse you more, and you would abuse him. Then both degrade themselves. That's what happens. So Mahatma Gandhi actually experimented with the higher principle of the Britishers. He wanted to give a chance to them because there was that spark of divinity in them, and so he thought they would transform themselves. They would see to it that their exploitation of Indians was unjust. But if you protect yourself and if you take up gun and fight with them, anyway, that actually barbaric blood, in the sense that that reality was there in him in the first place, that's in them, that's why they came here. So many battles they fought and subjugated us. Though actually it was not a highly manifest state of divinity, definitely, but that spark is there in every human being. You wanted to give them a chance. So by passive resistance, it becomes possible, where you take the suffering upon yourself. You bear with fortitude and titiksha, the other person is inflicting pain upon you. You have the power to react. Okay, you have the power to react, but you hold it back. Nature wants you to react, right? Somebody abuses us. What will you do first? You also will abuse other person, right? There's ordinary people do that. Ordinary people do that. So nature wants us to react, but you want to hold back. Then actually that transforms into tremendous power. But not many have that power, capability to exhibit that kind of fortitude, and then action, reaction, action, reaction, endless. They're mostly a Western idea where actually they want to react, they don't want to bear. See, in India, we praise, we consider, we esteem it as very high, titiksha, fortitude, not just reacting to situations that you display your strength by bearing it patiently. How will you demonstrate your strength? Through fortitude. Others abuse you, others criticize you, but you hold it back. You are displaying strength, a higher strength. If nature actually wants you to react, but you want to go against nature in the sense, you want to conquer nature. That conquest of nature is the goal of life. Not that you can't react, not that you don't have the ability to defend yourself by ordinary means. Okay? You have it, you have the ability, but you want to display higher strength, so you hold yourself back. You have the ability to react, but you hold it back. And through that, you transform yourself and you help other individual also to transform himself. Both will get transformed, both will become divine in the course of time. But you should have that patience. Today, no, you just react. He's responsible, she's responsible with suffering. You don't want to bear anything. Reaction, immediate reaction. But that is not the sign of strength. If you react to every situation, you are not actually displaying a greater strength. You are proving that you are weak. But these are higher principles. Not many have faith, conviction in those principles, and that's the reason there's a lot of suffering in the world. How to demonstrate strength? What speaks for strength? Fortitude speaks for strength. You have to invest your self-effort here. How much of titiksha, how much of forbearance I have, how much of fortitude I have, how much I can bear. As much as you can bear it. Display your strength in this way. That becomes possible only when you surrender to the divine. That's why you have to use your self-effort here. We have capacity. Okay? We have to exert ourselves. Without exertion, nothing you will get. So where you have to exert, where you have to invest this ability to put in the effort, here. To surrender to the will of the divine completely. Knowing full well that the whole universe is drama of the Lord, is His sport and His Leela. You invest all your energies in surrender. Did I surrender absolutely or not? Unconditionally. Surrender cannot be conditional. It must be unconditional. Surrender cannot be conditional. It's an unconditional surrender. Sri Ramakrishna gives actually a beautiful two parables he tells. What is conditional surrender? What is unconditional surrender? So there was a Brahmana. He developed a nice orchard. Many fruit plants he planted there. And also garden, nicely raised, very beautiful. One day on some work actually he went to another village. The gate of the orchard was not properly closed. A cow actually sneaked into the orchard and destroyed all his fruit plants. So he flew into a rage. So he took a stick and hit the cow mercilessly, and the cow fell dead. Now he realized that he committed a great blunder by killing a cow. Killing a cow is sin. So what he did, so he had been exposed to some Vedanta. Now he thought, well, why to expiate? That's what to do. How to expiate for this sin? I killed a cow because he had some exposure to Vedanta. He said, what is that exposure? He knows that in the senses, there are deities, presiding deities for all the senses. For example, for eye, the sun is a deity. For ear, the wind god actually is a deity. Presiding deities we call. Like that for hands, actually, Indra is the presiding deity. So, it is not I who killed the cow. The sin of killing the cow was about to take possession of him. And then he told the sin, actually, keep away, I have not done any mistake. It is not I who killed the cow. I used these hands, okay, to wield the stick. So the presiding deity for these hands actually is Indra. So it is Indra who killed the cow. So go and enter into the body of Indra. The Brahmana said he thought he was wise. So the sin went to Amaravati, Devaloka. So when it was about to enter into Indra's body, Indra protested, who are you? Why are you entering into my body? What am I to do with it? I have not done any mistake, any wrong act, sinful action. No. So and so says that actually you have killed the cow, and the sin of killing the cow, I am the sin, it has to go into some body where there should be some karta, because now the cow is dead. How come? Indra said, no, he says that you are the presiding deity of his hands because he had used his hands to hit the cow, and he says you are responsible. So Indra comes to the earth. He goes to that Brahmana and orchard in disguise, of course. Then he goes around. Then he asks the Brahmana, whose orchard it is? He says, mine. But very nicely arranged. All the trees are, the rows are so beautiful. So nicely groomed. Beautiful garden, he said. Oh, you have done a very good job. The Brahmana was very happy. So who has done this? Who has done that? All he was inquiring about. And he says, I have done that. On the way, when they went a little deep into the orchard, there they found the carcass of the cow. And what is this? Why this dead animal here, dead cow here? Who did this? The Brahmana said, Indra killed this cow. How come? When did he come and kill this cow? He said, yes, this cow entered into this. Okay. I used a stick to hit it. The hands I used because the presiding deity for hands is Indra. Indra killed it. Then Indra said, you hypocrite. So you take the responsibility and you actually appropriated all the praise, and you think you have done the garden. So all that actually belongs to you. The killing of cow, but they also used your hands, right, to raise the garden actually. Okay, to sow the saplings, to put the manure, to give water. What you would use? Your hands only you would use. Why you did not give it to me? That credit. Actually, Indra raised the garden. Actually, the garden belongs to Indra practically. So it's he who did all this. Why did you not say? Only cow actually Indra did. The rest of the garden, you did it. I think this is hypocrisy. This is a conditional surrender. It doesn't work like that. Either you surrender absolutely to the will of the Lord, or you say that everything, I am responsible for my actions. Either you say I am responsible for my actions, so thick and thin. Misery comes, I am responsible. Joy comes, I am responsible. Okay? Or otherwise, pass both to the Lord. He is responsible. Misery comes, okay. God is responsible. Joy comes, God is responsible. No, when joy comes, I am responsible. Good things, actually, I am responsible. Bad things, God is responsible or Indra is responsible. Some other presiding deity is responsible. This is because of weakness. What is absolute surrender? Unconditional surrender. Sri Ramakrishna explains this also through another beautiful parable. There was a weaver, a very pious man, a religious man. Every day after supper, he would sit in meditation for long hours, then he would repeat God's name, and then he would go into his sleep. One day, he finished his daily chores, daily work he completed, and he just sat in the courtyard in front of his house. And suddenly, a band of robbers were going there. They wanted to break into some house. They wanted somebody to collect to carry their booty. And so he saw this weaver, a very strong man. Then they dragged him. You just come and help us. You know, they were all robbers. So anyway, he saw how to resist them. Better not to resist. He just followed them. So they broke into a house. They collected all those things and put on his head. And then suddenly the watchman got up and then he caught hold of these robbers, but then they all ran away. Only this weaver robber, temporarily turned into a robber because he joined the robbers, they caught him. And next day, they put him before the magistrate. At night, actually, they put him in confinement. Then all the villagers came to know about this weaver being caught by the watchman, and then he was presented before the magistrate. That all the villagers went. He is of not that nature. He has never stolen before. He never broken into any house. Very pious man, very sincere man. How he would sell, his clothes, you say? When he would go to the market, he would say to people that, by the will of Rama, the cost of a yarn is 1 rupee. By the will of Rama, the cost of labor is 4 annas. By the will of Rama, the cost of my profit is 2 annas. So this piece of cloth is 1 rupee, 6 annas. So before anything he says, by the will of Rama, he would tell invariably, it's not my will, it's his will. In Islam also it is inshallah, inshallah they say. God willing, God willing, God willing. So this is because my will and God's will, if you don't remember God, if you forget Him, your will comes into the picture. Fine, nothing wrong to use your will. But for everything you should actually hold yourself responsible. And it's okay. You're really a great man. You're suffering, I'm responsible. Joy, I'm responsible. So here he is completely surrendered, this weaver, a great devotee. So by Rama's will, everything happens. When he was put before the magistrate, he said, then why did you not protest? He could have told the watchman that they just dragged you with them, the robbers, that you had no intention to steal. You were forced to join them. You could have told the watchman. You could have avoided this confinement for the whole night. So the magistrate heard the people, villagers, then he wanted to let him off. And he said that by the will of Rama, on that fateful day, I was sitting in front of my house, in my courtyard. By the will of Rama, a band of robbers happened to pass by. By the will of Rama, they happened to drag me into them. By the will of Rama, they broke into a house. By the will of Rama, they put their bone on my head. Then, actually, by the will of Rama, the watchman caught me. Then, by the will of Rama, I was put in confinement for one night. Then, by the will of Rama, I was put before you today. And by the will of Rama, you are liberating me now. So, everything. When he was put in jail, also, he did not protest. The will of Rama, everything happens. When robbers dragged him into them, he did not protest. So, I won't join you because I would be in trouble. By the will of Rama, everything happens. So through thick and thin, right? Joining robbers and to be imprisoned, not a comfortable experience. But imprisonment also he found it a comfortable experience because of his self-surrender to the divine. That is unconditional surrender through thick and thin, through trials and tribulations. If you can surrender yourself to the will of the divine, you are a real devotee. So it's not easy to become a real devotee. Our surrender is a conditional surrender. Okay? As I said, if good comes, I am responsible. Through my self effort, I achieved this. If you become a failure, God is not showering His grace upon me. He's too cruel. He's merciless. He's unkind. He's not showering His grace upon me. This is the kind of language that we use, right? In the Srimad Bhagavatam, we get this example of that elephant. You all know the story. I'm not going to narrate the story. The elephant was caught by the crocodile. It exerted its utmost in the beginning to save itself from the jaws of the crocodile. There actually you just see, first it was self-effort. It did not remember God. It did not bother to invoke the blessings of the Lord. It just, through its own might, through its own effort, it made to save itself from the jaws of the crocodile. Its exertion did not work. It understood that my strength is not sufficient to save myself from this danger. Then, where did it invest its energies? To surrender to the will of the divine. The first self effort was no divine was brought into the picture. When it understood that through self effort, through my individual exertions, it is not possible for me to save from this danger, then it invested its energy in surrender. Surrender also requires tremendous self effort. Then it started saying the prayer, the highest prayer, most philosophical prayer you know, that you ever come across in our scriptures. First self-effort, then the self-effort towards self-surrender. It made the effort towards surrender, and then Lord came to its rescue. And when somebody asked Sri Ramakrishna, a few devotees asked Sri Ramakrishna, this is an eternal dilemma kind of thing actually. Self-effort or God's will. What we will happens are actually only what God wills happens. So how to draw the line? So if everything happens by the will of the Lord, then why to exert it all? You just sit with yourself. You don't have to do anything. Some of the people come to such conclusions also. No. Sri Ramakrishna says, God has given you certain capacity and certain powers. You make good use of that first. Then actually he will give you the more. He will give you the extra. Whatever you have been given, you have been endowed with, if you don't make good use of that, why would he give you more? Okay? Why would he give you more? He will not give. See, our free will is not real. It's only a myth. Everything happens by the will of the Lord only. It's true. Ramakrishna gives the example of a cow tethered to a post. Cow is actually tied with a rope to a post. There is a small area it can move about. So it has freedom to move about in that small area. But it wants to go beyond. It can't go on its own. It needs the help of the owner. He has to untie the knot. He has to untie the rope. So that owner of the universe is the Lord. Okay, he will be able to save you from this samsara, this transmigratory existence. So when actually the owner of the cow will liberate it, the cow has to exert itself. How? It has to move around. It should show, though it can't verbally communicate at least. Sometimes, the animals, they would try, they make all effort to snap the rope. So they show the restlessness. It moves about the post constantly. Then the farmer or owner of the cow understands that. It wants to move about, it wants to graze, it wants to go about. Then he will come and untie a rope. In the same way, you have to exert yourself. If you really want to come out of this transmigratory cycle, that much of exertion you must. You are capable of. If you don't exert that much, God will not actually come to liberate you from this cycle. For example, suppose a cow is just lying down happily, tethered to the post, is eating little grass that the owner gives, and it is happy there, and he will not let it off. So, self exertion is needed just to make the Lord understand that you want to get yourself liberated. And there only you need to invest your ability to, surrender. Your capacity and capability you need to invest here. But most of the times we invest in a wrong way. Because we have worldly desires. There are three ways. When you have a desire in the world, maybe born of your prarabdha, because there is craving actually is born, either because of the samskara that you have inherited from your previous existence, or because the circumstances you cultivated that desire. Fine. You are exerting. You are working towards that goal or objective. Some of our objectives will get fulfilled. Okay? So Lord actually has ignored you. According to your prarabdha, what you are destined to get, you will get. You will make that much of effort. That means the Lord has ignored you. Things are happening according to your prarabdha. As I've said that if you don't exert and if you think that everything happens by the will of the Lord, then why should I exert myself at all? I will just sit quiet. It's not easy. Okay. It's not easy. Your parents will scold you. Your friends will consider you a useless person. Okay. Your friends will consider you useless person is fit for nothing. And they will accuse you. Okay. They will ridicule you. They will talk slightingly of you. You can't bear that, right? So if you can bear that, oh no, my friend is not actually insulting me. God is insulting me in that form. It's okay. Parents are scolding, okay. It's parents scold also is okay. God only is scolding me through parents. Scolding is also, if it is comfortable to you, then you have surrendered completely. Okay. If that scolding is also comfortable to you, then you have surrendered completely. You are indifferent to everything. You are happy and you are joyful. That surrender requires a lot of exertion, which people they don't know. Sometimes because of Thomas we say this, everything happens by the will of the Lord. Why should I exert? I will just sit in myself. You can, fine. But you should be able to bear this all this ridicule, criticism, censure, scoldings. If all that you find comfortable, then you sit. It's not. It won't be comfortable. So exertion is far easier than to bear with these humiliations. That's the reason people are exerting, right? So when you exert, three things are there. The first is not everything that you will or wish for you will get it. Some things you will get. What are their destiny? But only through a self effort, I am telling you. Without effort, even that what you are destined to get, also you will not get it. So effort, you have to put in the effort. You have to try. There is no other option. There is no other choice. So first thing, the Lord has ignored you. That's why whatever you are destined to get by prarabdha, you will get. Okay, you have made some effort and you will get that. The second thing, so if that also doesn't happen, let us say you're trying and everybody is trying, everybody is not, nobody is getting anything. Then nobody will show any interest in the world, right? Everybody will become indifferent to the world. You will not take interest in the world because some things will happen our way. That's why actually we find it interesting. But that is also Maya. The same thing is Maya. Okay, everything happens by our will, we don't need God. If nothing happens by our will, actually, we won't take any interest in the world. Some things happen our way. That is a temptation. That is a temptation. That creates a hope in man that, okay, more things I can try, I will strive for. So you'll put effort, but you will not get everything. That's good for you because you don't know how to will, right? That's good for you because if you allow your mind to decide things, it will go wild, it will go crazy, right? So that is the reason God will not give everything. Some things He gives, okay, according to prarabdha, we'll get. Some things God will not get. So you are trying. You are a man of strong will, an exceptional will. You have set a very high goal, and you have been trying for it sincerely, and you have tried for it. You have invested your whole heart and soul, as it were. Okay. However, you could exert, however, you could exert, invested your whole soul there. Still, you didn't get it. You didn't get it. That means what? God's grace isn't coming upon you. If you have made a half-hearted attempt to achieve something, anyway you will not get disappointed also much because if I had tried sincerely, I could have got it. I did not make enough effort. My effort actually was not good enough to achieve it. Had I tried sincerely, I could have got it. But you have tried sincerely. You left no stone unturned. Whatever the best that you could give, whatever the best of the effort that you could put, you put. But still you didn't get it. Okay? Then God's grace is coming upon you. For sure. God's grace is coming upon you. And no, Swamiji, I have quoted it many times, but still I would like to quote it again. Very prophetic words. Smitten on the head, the cobra raises its hood. Smitten on the head, the cobra raises its hood. Stricken to the heart, the lion gives out its mightiest roar. Stricken to the heart, the lion gives out its mightiest roar. And when a man is wounded, and the majesty of the soul comes forth only when a man is wounded to his depths. See, you have invested all your energies, but your attempt was thwarted by the Lord Himself. Then comes real Vairagya. Okay? You have invested your heart and soul so strongly for something in the world, but that did not happen your way. Then comes dispassion. Then comes Vairagya. You are a fortunate human being because the Lord is showering His grace upon you now. Smitten on the head, the cobra raises its foot. Stricken to the heart, the lion gives out its mightiest roar. And the majesty of the soul comes forth only when a man is wounded to his depths. So you'll feel a wound in your heart because you tried so hard for that, but you didn't get it. Now all your effort you feel has gone in vain. But the effort has not gone in vain. It's not a useless effort. Now God is showering His grace upon you. He is telling you that you are willing in a wrong direction. You are not actually willed rightly. You are not seeking the right thing. Now He is interfering. Actually, He is showering His grace upon you. He wants to change the course of direction of your will. He is trying to help you to will rightly. You know, Vivekananda, the man who had given so much of knowledge to the world, at one point, at one stage in his life, he tried for a teacher's job, but he didn't get it. Okay, he ran from pillar to post to get a teacher's job in a private school, not government teacher's job. Government teacher's job is little competition is there. You have to try. Private school teacher's job. He tried, but he didn't get it. The man who has given so much of knowledge to the world. And this millennium, if you ask me, in this millennium, the world has not seen such a genius in the last 1,000 years. If you want to know who Vivekananda is, take it from me. The world has not seen such a genius in the last 1,000 years. That is Vivekananda. So he didn't get teacher's job because his destiny was different. God was thwarting his attempts. God was actually thwarting his attempts. He's putting a check. No, you need to will rightly. Your destiny is different. Your destiny is different. He was telling him. Of course, later on, what happened, The Sri Ramakrishna showed him and told him that your destiny is this, my child. You can't go that way. That's not for you. But his attempt was very sincere to get the job because he was in dire need of job. The family was starving. Immediate need for job. But he didn't get it. He tried. Not that a half-hearted attempts he made. Sincere attempt. Desperately in need of job. But he didn't get it. Because his destiny was different. And the Lord actually was intervening and thwarting his attempts and changing the course of the direction of his will. So he turned towards this spirituality and then, of course, jet speed. No stopping him from there. So in Yoga Vashishta tells Rama, Vashishta wants to tell Rama, so don't depend on God and other things. They are not there at all. Okay? Exert your utmost through manly endeavor, attain self-realization, Rama. विश्वामित्रेण मुनिना दैवमुसृज्य दूरतः पौरुषेणैव सम्प्राप्तं ब्रह्मण्यं राम नान्यथा. This is the sloka. Vishwamitrena munina Daivamusrujya durataha. So throw God overboard, Vashishta is telling. Don't bring in God anywhere here. Throw overboard. Vishwamitrena munina. Vishwamitra attained to self-realization by throwing God overboard, he say. Paurushena iva. Then sampraptam brahmanyam rama na anyatha. How did he achieve self-realization, Vishwamitra? Through sheer self-exertion and self-effort and manly endeavor. So here, The divine will and self effort become one and the same. The first, according to your prarabdha, you developed a desire and you are working for that desire. You might be able to fulfill the desire, you might not be able to fulfill the desire. That means God has ignored you and God is allowing things to happen in your life according to your prarabdha. The second, you were trying for something sincerely, like Swamiji's example. He was trying for his teacher's job, but he didn't get it. But God actually thwarting your attempt. That means God is actually showering His grace upon you. And the third, you are turned towards this spiritual path to attain God, and you are making your utmost, like Sri Ramakrishna. The way he had struggled to get the glimpse of the Divine Mother, to have the darshan of Divine Mother Kali. So his will and the divine will completely merged into each other. They are actually not two separate well. The grace, the Lord's grace actually has descended upon that individual in the form of self-effort. There they are not two. When you reach to that stage, they are not two. No, your self-effort is different and God's grace is different. Nothing like that. They actually, now you have known how to will rightly and you are exerting your utmost. And that is actually the self effort and the divine will. They become one at that point of time. That's the reason Vasistha is telling Rama, Daivamusrucha, keep aside God. You don't bring in God. There's no God, he's saying. You just exert your utmost and become self realized. Because Rama's will, the power of Rama's will, Vasistha knows. He had the very strong will and strong determination. Now he has given the direction, right direction. Yes, invest it in this direction, all the capacity and capability that you have. And divine grace actually worked through the Rama in the form of that highest self effort. So now we are in the first stage, most of us, some of the people in the second stage, those who are, they wanted something and they worked hard for that and they didn't get it. What would happen? They would not turn towards God, right? What would happen? They either would get into depression, or in the extreme case, they commit suicide. Okay, they become disappointed, right? They are not turning towards God. See, they were willing wrongly. You have the ability, strong determination, but you are investing in a wrong direction. This is not where you ought to invest it. There's a better way to invest this ability to work hard. So here, this is the direction that you need to invest. You know, a very good many examples we have in our Puranas. The Ratnakara Valmiki, he was a robber, right? A brave heart. He was a robber, he was robbing people, killing, murdering. Tremendous will, tremendous courage, tremendous gumption, a lot of energy, but misdirected. Then one day he begged the sages, and then they asked him, such a sinful act you are doing. You have to pay. There will be consequences for this kind of action. For whose sake you are doing it? I am doing it for the sake of my wife and children. Will you take a part of this sin? Go and ask. Ratnakara thought actually they would take because for their sake he was doing all this. But they said, no, we have nothing to do with your sinful action. It's your duty and responsibility to provide for us. So the sin also will go to you and you. You have to bear your sin on your own strength. Then Ratnakara comes back and you know what happens then. The sages initiate him out of compassion. Then afterwards, the same energy which was misdirected, and then when it directed properly, and he started chanting Rama's name with such joy and ecstasy, he forgot his body, and the anthill grew over him. That's why actually he became Valmiki. He was Valmika. Valmika is anthill. That was the intensity with which he chanted divine name, Rama's name. So, like that, we have Tulsidas also, beginning as a very worldly man. Suddenly something happened. I scolded him. This kind of attachment that you are showing to me, you can show it to the Lord. With the lotus feet of the Lord, you will become an enlightened human being, she said. Then he took that advice seriously and turned his will this way. Below Mangala. He led an immortal life. But when his will got changed its course, and with jet speed, he had attained to the divine realization. So that means you are a strong willed person, a lot of determination you have, but things are not happening your way. That means God is showering His grace upon you. He's asking you to change the course of your well, and He's asking you to become a spiritual seeker. We have so many such examples in our scriptures. So Ratnakara, Angulimala, Bilo Mangala, and in Sri Ramakrishna's life we come across this life, Girish Chandra Ghosh. You all might have heard. Okay. He led an immoral life, but Sri Ramakrishna had great faith in him. He also has misdirected energy. So one day Sri Ramakrishna asks him actually. He said that I cannot do all the spiritual sadhana and all those things. Sri Ramakrishna asks him, can you repeat God's name once in the morning and once in the evening? Then Girish Chandra Bose becomes silent. He was not sure because once you commit yourself to your guru, you must do his bidding. He was a sincere man to that extent. Sometimes he says, what is there? Simply morning once, evening once, very easy. So I will do that, you will say. Okay, most of the devotees who take initiation, okay, from their guru. So when the guru asked them to do, will you be able to do 108 times? Will you repeat God's name, this mantra? Ah, yes, 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 Maharaj. Yes, Maharaj. Yes, Gurudeva. Nothing will happen afterwards. Okay. They think it is that easy. Okay. They give. But Girish Chandra Ghosh was sincere. Will I be able to remember God's name the morning and evening once? I think it is difficult because I don't follow a regular routine and my life is very hectic. I think so. He kept quiet. He did not give a word to Sri Ramakrishna that I would be able to do. And then Sri Ramakrishna asked, okay, at least do one thing. Just before taking your dinner and before going to bed, you just repeat God's name. That's all. But that also, he said, I'm not sure. He was silent. Then Sri Ramakrishna ultimately asked him, you give your power of attorney to me. So Girish Chandra Ghosh thought that it was easy to give the power of attorney. And so, okay, then you are responsible for whatever happens. So Sri Ramakrishna agreed that I will be responsible for your life. I will take charge of your life. Girish Chandra Ghosh thought it was easy. But it's not easy. Every minute you have to remember Sri Ramakrishna before you do anything because you are given your power of attorney to Sri Ramakrishna. Any action, any decision, before you have to consult him and you have to remember him. You have to ask him. Then he found it so difficult. Other things could have been easier, he thought. So what happened in his life? His wife passed away. Son passed away. Those were the tests. But still he surrendered. So Sri Ramakrishna's response. Maybe it's good for me, that's why he's doing that. Not ordinary things happen in his life. That much of courage. Calamitous things happened. Ordinary devotee would have considered that the Sri Ramakrishna had taken upon himself the responsibility for my life, but he was not doing anything. He had cheated me. Ordinary devotee would have come to such conclusion, but Girish Chandra did not. He is responsible for my life. So whatever that happens in my life happens according to his will. So I have nothing to worry. Wife passed away, son passed away, but still his faith in Sri Ramakrishna was intact. You don't know through what path God takes you to the ultimate realization. We are all very short-sighted people. Because our understanding of comfort, our understanding of, divine grace is completely different. Once you surrender to the will of the Lord, whatever that may happen in your life, you surrender. That happens by the will of the Lord and that happens for your ultimate good. You should have that faith and that conviction. Okay, but for us actually, death is such a big thing. But for God actually it's a very small thing. Body goes and the body comes. All the relationships are body-based relationships. Bodies are not permanent. So the relationships are also not permanent. But we don't want to come out of this dream. These are all mine. They are my people. You think they are eternal, you are eternal. Neither you are eternal, nor they are eternal. You are immortal and they are immortal. The separation may come at any time. Prepare yourself mentally. Muster courage. Prepare yourself mentally. Not that, I will be broken. God actually is not showing any mercy upon me. No, God is showing mercy. But his idea of showing mercy is different from your idea of showing mercy. Surrender must be unconditional. You will not put any conditions. This, if you do this, then actually you are good God. Otherwise, you are not good for me. You should not put any conditions upon the Lord. He knows what is good for you, and your surrender is absolute. You must ensure this. If you make this, if you give this kind of promise to the Lord, that I surrender to you absolutely. Whatever that happens in my life, I can see actually happening by your will. And so no conditions are imposed. And that kind of self-surrender requires highest self-exertion. You need to understand. And what are the energies that you have, what are the will that you have, and invest in that direction to surrender to the will of the Lord. If you surrender absolutely, then you will become immortal, you will attain self realization. Okay, so all the best, sooner the better. Strive, surrender, absolute surrender, no conditions, sir. Okay, so let us meditate for just 2 minutes before we disperse. Om